Hi guys. Okay, I have been looking forward to reviewing this movie and seeing this movie for about 6 months since it played at TIFF this past September 2013. It was one of the movies that was on my list to see, but I couldn't see it because it was playing at a shitty time. Anyway, this movie is called A Field in England. Director is a British guy named Ben Wheatley. Let me tell you something. This guy is quickly becoming one of my favorite directors because he is different, okay? I first heard about this guy when my husband came home with a DVD that he rented maybe a year or two ago called Kill List. He told me about this movie as well, just in general terms, and then when we sat down to watch it, I was like just blown away by this movie. Not so much by the whole movie, but by the ending of the movie, which I mentioned another time in one of my videos here, I know. Anyway, if you haven't seen it, if you have not seen Kill List, see it, okay? But anyway, so this is his latest movie, and it was written by his wife, Amy Jump. And I don't even know how to begin to review this movie. It defies description, this movie. All I can say is that this movie is one of the most stunningly, amazingly photographed movies that I've ever seen. It was amazing, incredible, just mind-blowingly, visual, this movie. It was shot in black and white. I can't even imagine this movie in color, what it would be like in color. It would not have worked. Black and white is the only medium for this movie. It's set in the 1600s. There's a civil war raging. When the movie starts, there's this battle going on, and this guy is escaping. And he's hiding in the bushes from his master or whatever. And anyway, he ends up deserting with 2 or 3 other guys, and they just go wandering through the English countryside. And then they end up finding this guy named O'Neill, who's just lying in this field, who forces them to dig for treasure. Okay? Now that's the basic, that's all I could glean from the plot. But I mean, I don't even know how to review this movie, because it was just so surrealistic and unexplainable, really. It's one of those movies like Under the Skin. Another movie that I was really impressed with last year by, I think it's another British director, Jonathan Glazer. I don't know if he's British or Australian. But anyway, that was another one of those movies that, although you don't understand completely what's going on in the plot, it doesn't matter. You know, it really does not matter. What's more important is kind of the effect it has on your senses, you know? And this movie was just, it was one of those movies where you don't know what the hell is going on, really. But it's just so amazing to look at, and just such artistry, pure artistry. That's all I can say about this movie. There was one scene in this movie, okay, spoiler, if you go to see it, I don't want to ruin it for anybody, so if you don't want to know any of what happens during the movie, then stop watching now. But this one scene in this movie that disturbed me, profoundly, was this scene after they find this guy O'Neill, who's just lying on his back in this field, staring up at the sky. Anyway, he's I guess he's some nobleman, some Irish nobleman or something, who had stolen from the guy who was deserting at the beginning, from his master. He'd stolen some stuff or something like that. So this guy it was his job to find him and arrest him and bring him back to account for this or whatever. Anyway, this guy ends up capturing him and the guys he's with and forcing them to dig for this treasure, and which he says is buried in this field in England. That they're wandering through this countryside the whole time, all these, you know, all the weed is blowing around them and the trees are blowing, and it's just it's just amazing. It's like watching a painting come to life, this movie. But anyway, this one scene that I was getting to that really, really freaked me out and like disturbed me was when after he captures them, he forces this guy to find out exactly where in the field this treasure is buried, because he's got some kind of psychic or divining powers or whatever, so he thinks. So he brings him into this tent, okay? So you just see the two of them go into this tent, and then all you hear is this fucking guy screaming his ass off for like 2 or 3 minutes. You never see what's going on in there. You never see what's going on in this tent, okay? It's left up to your imagination. I'm thinking, what the hell is he doing to him in there? Is he sodomizing him? Is he torturing him? Obviously, he's torturing him in some way, right? Anyway, when this guy finally emerges from the tent, he's got this rope around his neck, and it's tied around his shoulders and around his chest, and he's like harnessed, kind of, right? And it's in slow motion, and he comes out of this tent, and the look on his face is like, as if he's just been driven insane. He's grinning from ear to ear, but you can tell it's as if he just went mad inside this tent. And this scene, it goes on, and like I said, it's in slow motion, and he's like coming slowly out of this tent, and he's passing all these guys, and I was like, oh my god, like, what happened to this guy, right? And the whole movie was like that, you know, like, that was the creepiest scene for me. But, like, it's just, there's just so much that is just, how can I explain it? I don't know, it's like one of these experiential films, very experimental. I think he even said himself, the director, when he's being interviewed and he's talking about this movie, that the movie kind of defies description. You can't really talk about what it's about, because it's probably going to be different for every single person who sees it. Everybody's going to take something else away from it. To me, I don't even care what the movie was about. It was just so... The vibe, the atmosphere, the look of this movie was just so incredible. I hope he gets recognized. The director of photography, cinematographer, whoever, did this, because it was just masterful work. I can't begin to tell you. What else can I say about it? I really don't know what to say, except that I liked it a lot. Even though I don't know what this movie, can't understand the ending, can't really understand what was going on all through it, just the look of it, and like these guys, like they're, like this guy O'Neill, he's this really tall guy, and he's got this big hat, and he's wearing a cape, and, like they're wearing all these old-fashioned clothes, like the 16th, 17th century clothing, and it's just so, like, you feel like you step into another time when you watch this movie. It's like going into a time machine and, being in this place for like an hour and a half, however long you're watching this movie. I'm sorry if this review is really inept, and it probably is. I'm sure it is, because I don't know what really to say about this movie, except that I really, really, really appreciated the artistry involved in this movie. The vibe, the atmosphere, the look, just everything about it. This guy is definitely somebody who is on the rise, for sure. I can't wait to see what he does next. He's so different. He's so unique. This guy makes movies like no one else. He's in a class by himself, for sure. So all I can say about this movie is I would highly recommend you go see it. If you're one of those people who goes to see kind of more Hollywood, mainstream type stuff, you will probably hate it. I'm sorry to say. But if you're more adventurous, if you're more experimental, if you can appreciate true art in filmmaking, then I would highly, highly recommend that you go see this, because you will not soon forget it. I mean, there's images from this movie that I'm sure I'll take away for quite a while. It was just like so that good. So anyways, 2 major thumbs up for A Field in England. It did not disappoint me. I knew it was going to be special. I knew it was going to be like really, really exceptional, and it was. And even though I can't explain it or understand much of it, I don't care. I loved it. Okay, so that's my review, per se, of A Field in England. Okay, see you next time. Bye.